Welcome back to Skidmore Family Farm. Today we are setting columns for the cabin. I've got the back row done, which is what I had to start with since that was going to be the highest point as far as ground elevation, and then I can work from that point off that to towards the front, which right there where the string level is pretty much level right on, which worked out because of the 4-foot Sonoco tubes work out just to be just right, basically. And they're just tall enough. And this is the lowest point, I believe, so the other ones I might have to trim some off the bottom or whatever to get them to be level with this corner here. I'm going to start with this corner. It is level all the way across the back, and then this line is pretty much square going down the center of them. A few of these on the back, because of rocks and boulders in the ground, they're a little bit off center or whatever, but once I get the front row in, I can measure. I can cut it to fit the foundation column, so that part's not really a big deal. It might be a little smaller in dimensions than 16 by 40, but it would just be by like inches, just enough to keep everything squared up and on top of the columns as far as the framing goes, which it's just a cabin. It's nothing, it's not a mansion, so being perfect isn't what I'm looking for. I'm just trying to get something built. And I'm sure we'll have settling or whatever. The frost line's not too deep here, so I mean, they don't have really harsh winters, so we don't really have to worry about the freezing and thawing so much. We're well below. I think the shortest depth was like 16 or 18 inches below grade, so I'm happy with that. And that was just because of big rocks and boulders. But if it's sitting on top of big rocks, that means they're going below the 2-foot mark. So as you can see, the soil is real rocky, so it has decent drainage, and it should be compacted. This soil hasn't been excavated or messed with in probably 50 or 60 years, so it's definitely settled. It's not like a fresh excavated job site, so we shouldn't have too much settling, hopefully. Even if we do, it's not a big deal. I have bottle jacks and all that stuff. I can jack it up, shim it, do whatever it needs to be done, which is where the remodeling, all my remodeling experience pays off on something like this, because if it's not quite perfect, I know how to counteract it and make it so it works. I'll find out here in just a little bit where we're at as far as getting the lumber delivered. I'm having poplar, a little bit of pine, and he said maybe some oak. It just depends on what he had cut down as far as timber. He said he'd give me whatever and just charge me for the price of poplar. So I'm getting it probably 40% cheaper or more, close to half off of what I would pay if I went to a box store, Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, places like that. And my lumber will actually be 2x. It'll be 2 inches thick, actual size, instead of like nominal size. I mean, like when you go to your lumber store, lumber yard, whatever, if you get a 2x4, it's not 2 inches by 4 inches. It's 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches, just per building codes and the way everything drywall's sized, and it just works out that way. It's just like the national code, I guess, is how they set that up, so that everything fits together, but I'm not worried about that. I'm going to make it fit together myself. So the poplar will be stronger than pine, and like I said, it'll be actual 2x. So the lumber will be very strong, and it's only 16 foot wide, and it'll have a support going down. This is the middle support columns, which I'll probably anchor some 2x10s or 12s or whatever to help with the span in between each column, like from there to there, because the joist will be going front to back. So they'll have something to rest on if they're not on a column. But other than that, we're on our way. I have tomorrow off, so when you see this video tomorrow, I will be finishing up the rest of these columns. I only got like 4 or 5 hours by the time I got stuff set up, and now I've got everything set up, and I've got concrete, some already out here. I'll use that up in the morning and then go back and get more. I have, I don't know, probably 20 bags, 30 bags more on the trailer back at Ryan's. We might run a little short on it, but I mean, if we're 5 bags off, I saved enough on these because I bought it in bulk at Lowe's. Got it for less than $3 a bag for the 5,000 PSI high strength. It's not the best pre-mix concrete, but it's not the cheap stuff neither. So this will ensure that it will hold the weight. But we're all worn out. Rosie's been fighting with Zora all day. Zora came down here with us, and then they would fight, and then they would snuggle, and then they'd get up and fight, and they're like siblings, basically, 2 females. That's Zora's one of Ryan's German Shepherds. They just don't know how to act around each other. They both get jealous, and they want to bicker back and forth. They're not drawing blood or anything, but they're trying to be dominant. But she's all worn out, just like I am, except she didn't have to work. She just spent her days playing with another dog. But that's going to wrap up our video for today. And then hopefully tomorrow I can give you a video, and the rest of the other 12 columns should be set. And then they can cure for the next week or so until I get my lumber order in, and that'll give it plenty of time to start curing. And the temperatures are kind of down lower, so that the concrete should cure nicely. Shouldn't be too hot. Sometimes if it's in the middle of summer, concrete can crack out if it cures too fast, or if you strip the forms off too soon. So we're just going to leave the forms on and probably just wait until I start framing stuff in, and then take them off later on in a couple weeks. But with just me being the one framing, after a week or so, we can start building on top of the columns without having to worry about them busting out or anything. They'll have the load of the the weight load will be spread out equally, so shouldn't have any problems there. And plus, it's just me framing, like I said. Sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice. By the time I start really getting walls put up and lots of weight, load-bearing weight put on these, that'll be 3 weeks in, and they'll be definitely cured enough to hold a load-bearing wall. But that wraps up our video for Skidmore Family Farm. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the thumbs up to like our videos, and hit the notification bell to get all our latest videos. Anything you want to say, Rosie? No? Just want to go home and eat? All right, guys. Thanks, and have a good evening.